Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something pretty significant happening in tech. India's really ramping up its role in semiconductor manufacturing. Fast.
Yeah, it's a major shift. For ages, India was mostly known for chip design.
Exactly, designing them. But now the focus is swinging dramatically towards actually making them, building the factories.
That's right. And we're drawing on insights from the India's Rise as a Global Semiconductor Manufacturing Hub report by Orbit and Skyline, published just May 20th, 2025.
Okay.
And our mission here really is to understand what's driving this, the key factors, who's involved, and what it means.
But what it means for tech, for supply chains?
Yeah.
Basically a shortcut to grasping this big change.
Exactly. Consider it your inside look.
All right, let's unpack this. Semiconductors, chips, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Absolutely everywhere. Your phone, your car, especially EVs, medical devices.
Critical stuff. Defense systems, too.
Definitely. They're the hidden engine of modern life, really.
And India stepping up now feels timely, given the global picture.
Oh, incredibly timely. Global demand is just surging. Think AI, 5G, IoT. Everything needs more and more powerful chips.
Right.
And that surge has made everyone realize how, fragile some supply chains can be. So there's this global race to build more resilient, more diverse sources.
India sees an opportunity there.
A massive one. They're positioning themselves as a really crucial new piece of that puzzle.
Now, as you said, India's not totally new to this game. They have that history in chip design, embedded systems.
That's right. VLSI design, software development, they've got real strengths there.
Could you maybe quickly unpack VLSI for us?
Yeah.
Very large-scale integration. Sounds complex.
It is. Basically, it's the incredibly intricate process of designing circuits with, billions of tiny transistors packed onto a single chip.
Billions? Wow.
Yeah. And India developed a really strong talent pool for that design work over the years. That's a solid foundation.
Okay, so a good starting point. But this new push, it's way beyond just the blueprints, right? It's about the actual making of the chips.
Precisely. The ambition now is to build the whole thing domestically. An end-to-end ecosystem.
So not just design, but the fabrication in the factories.
The fabs, yeah. And the assembly, the testing, even producing the specialized chemicals and gases needed. The whole value chain.
And the numbers involved sound huge. The report projects India's semiconductor industry hitting, 3,047,800 crore by 2030.
Which is around $40 billion US dollars.
Yes.
A massive jump.
That's enormous growth.
It really is. And it's not just about the money, It signals a potential shift in global manufacturing dynamics. Less reliance maybe on just one or two regions.
Interesting geopolitical angle there.
Definitely. And that growth hinges on building up the support structure, too. Those specialized chemicals, the gases, they're absolutely vital for making these advanced chips.
Right, that's supporting supply chain. The report mentions the global semiconductor supply chain market could hit US $420 billion by 2030.
Yeah, a huge number. And India's aiming for about 10% of that, according to ISI.
10% is ambitious.
It is. It really underscores the scale of what they're trying to build.
Makes me think of that quote from Prime Minister Modi, "You are in the right place at the right time. The chips are never down in 21st century India. When the chips are down, you can bet on India." Pretty bold.
It's a strong statement, yeah. And it points to what India sees as its key advantages here.
Which are?
Well, first, the talent pool. Lots of engineers, STEM graduates. Then, a pretty solid IT infrastructure already in place. And the demographic dividend, that large young population.
Key ingredients for attracting investment.
Exactly. These factors make it look like a very attractive place to set up shop right now for semiconductor companies.
Okay, so who are these companies? Who are the key players actually building this ecosystem? Sounds like a lot of different parts.
It is interconnected, definitely. The report breaks it down nicely, though. You've got the semiconductor fabs, the factories making the chips.
Okay.
Then OEMs, original equipment manufacturers who use the chips, material suppliers providing the vital chemicals and stuff, and semiconductor service providers who offer expertise.
Got it. Let's start with the fabs. These are the big factory projects we hear about.
That's right, some major ones. Micron Technology, a huge global name, is setting up an ATMP facility in Gujarat.
ATMP, assembly, testing, marking, packaging.
Exactly. Those crucial final steps before a chip goes into a device, adds a lot of value, creates jobs.
Okay. Who else?
Then there's a big partnership, Tata Electronics and PSMC. They're building a brand new fab, a greenfield project in Dholera, Gujarat.
Greenfield means starting from scratch.
Totally from scratch. Huge undertaking. And ISMC, working with Tower Semiconductors, has proposed a fab in Karnataka focusing more on analog chips.
Analog chips. Now, those are for things like power management.
Yeah, power management, sensors, things like that. Different, but also essential.
Okay, and the OEMs. The companies making the equipment or using the chips.
Also seeing big moves there. Applied Materials, they make the sophisticated machinery for the fabs they're investing in, a big R&D center in Bengaluru.
Ah, interesting. So supporting the fabs themselves.
Right. And Lam Research, another major equipment supplier, is boosting its training programs and local presence. Then you have companies like Sahasra Semiconductors, an Indian AT&P player already supplying local electronics firms.
Shows there's some existing capability being built on.
Definitely.
What about the materials? You said those are vital. The gases, chemicals.
Absolutely critical and often overlooked. You need incredible purity. So global players like Air Liquide are expanding into these new semiconductor parks in India.
Supplying the necessary gases.
Ultra pure gases and chemicals, yeah. And JSR Corporation, known for photoresists, that's a key material for etching patterns on chips.
Right.
They're getting involved through partnerships. Plus, importantly, there's a push under the Make in India initiative to develop domestic chemical suppliers, too.
Building that local supply chain makes sense.
It's essential for long-term resilience.
And the last category, semiconductor service providers. This is where Orbit and Skyline fits in, the source for our deep dive today.
Exactly. Companies like Orbit and Skyline are kind of the crucial connective tissue. They offer specialized expertise.
Like what specifically?
Things like equipment engineering, making sure all that complex machinery is installed right and runs perfectly. Process engineering, optimizing the actual chip-making steps. And managing the facilities overall. Orbit and Skyline, according to the report, brings a lot of global experience. They provide these comprehensive solutions for both the chip makers and the equipment suppliers. Sort of a bridge between them.
Acting as a vital link.
Got it.
Now, this whole effort, it's not just India going it alone, is it? International collaboration seems huge.
Oh, absolutely central to the strategy. The report lists several key examples. Micron's investment, that $2.75 billion in Gujarat for the AT&T facility, that's a massive vote of confidence.
Brings global tech and scale.
Precisely. And the Tata Electronics fab in Dholera, that's a nearly $10.5 billion project.
Wow.
Projected to make 50,000 wafers a month, create over 20,000 jobs. Huge scale.
And there's nation-to-nation collaboration, too.
Yes, particularly the India-U.S. collaboration under the GPS Act. The U.S. is actively working with India's semiconductor mission.
To do what, exactly?
To assess India's infrastructure regulations, basically paving the way for joint projects and strengthening the global supply chain together.
So government-level partnership. We're also hearing about investments in fabless companies. They design chips but don't make them.
Right. That's another important piece. Fabless companies drive innovation in design. Larsen & Toubro, L&T, is investing significantly over $300 million to set up a fabless company aiming to design 15 new products by 2027.
So building domestic design muscle, too.
Exactly. Reduces reliance on imported designs, fosters local innovation.
And it seems like that assembly and test segment, the ATMP or OSAT, is really attracting partnerships, too.
It really is. There's the CG Power, Renesas, and Star's microelectronics joint venture setting up an OSAT outsourced semiconductor assembly and test facility in Sanand, Gujarat.
They have a timeline for that.
Yeah, aiming for pilot production around mid-2025, full scale maybe late 2027. Then there's the HCL Foxconn JV near Jewar Airport in UP.
Foxconn, big name.
Huge. They're focusing on display driver chips, looking at maybe 36 million chips a year eventually. And Kane Semicon is setting up in Gujarat too, aiming for a massive daily output. 6 million chips a day, they project.
6 million a day. That's staggering.
It is. And let's not forget Tata Electronics again, another huge investment, this time in Assam. An assembly and test facility in Jaji Road.
Tech.
Advanced stuff, wire bond, flip chip, ISP. First phase aiming for mid-2025, potentially over 27,000 jobs.
It really is a whirlwind of activity. And like you said, companies like Orbit and Skyline are helping make all these connections work.
Yeah, they play that enabling role, providing services like the initial setup, a tool hookup in the new fabs, crucial expertise in equipment and process engineering, ensuring the supply of those super specialized materials, and helping integrate the design phase with the manufacturing phase. They're really described as key enablers for the whole system to function efficiently and scale up.
It's fascinating to track how India's semiconductor goals have changed over time. The report mentions older efforts, like SCL and Mohali.
Right. Those were important early public sector initiatives. They built some initial expertise. But what's happening now is just on a different scale and speed.
Driven by these global partnerships and private money.
Exactly. It's a much more rapid, globally integrated push now. And the focus is clearly on building the entire value chain, not just pieces of it.
And the human side, the jobs. Microchip USA was quoted saying India's semiconductor sector could generate 1 million jobs by 2026.
1 million jobs. It's a huge number. And it reflects the breadth of roles needed.
Not just factory workers.
No. R&D, design, equipment maintenance, supply chain logistics, management, across the board. It feels like it's moving from a distant goal to something very tangible, with real government backing.
Speaking of government backing, what are the main programs driving this?
Well, there are several key ones. The PLI Scheme Production Linked Incentive is a big one, offers financial incentives for manufacturing locally.
Oh.
Then there's the DLI Scheme Design Linked Incentive, specifically supporting chip design activities within India.
So incentivizing both making and designing.
Right. And it all falls under the umbrella of the Semicon India program, which provides the overall strategic direction and funding support.
So if you pull back, what are the core strategic advantages making India so attractive right now for these big chip companies?
It's really a convergence of factors. One, that skilled workforce we talked about, lots of STEM talent.
Right.
Two, a definite cost advantage, both in labor and potentially in the supply chain as it builds out. Three, these very proactive government initiatives like the PLI scheme, that sends a strong signal. And fourth, I'd say, is growing global trust. These partnerships with the U.S., Japan, Europe, Israel, they build confidence and help with technology transfer.
Okay, makes sense. And Orbit and Skyline's specific role in that mix, how do they contribute?
The report highlights their specific know-how. Things like that critical initial tool hookup service when a fab is being built.
Getting the machines running.
Exactly. And then ongoing process and equipment engineering to keep things efficient. They also help manage the supply of those specialized semiconductor materials and provide support to link the chip design smoothly into the actual manufacturing process.
So really practical hands-on support.
Very much so. Essential for building out this kind of complex, connected ecosystem effectively.
The report even gives a concrete example, a case study.
It does, yeah. It mentions a partnership Orbit and Skyline had with a global semiconductor equipment maker. And the result was apparently a 43% reduction in their annual packaging costs.
43%. That's significant.
It really is. It shows the kind of tangible impact these specialized service providers can have on efficiency and the bottom line.
So wrapping this up, it feels like India is genuinely undergoing a major transformation in its global semiconductor role.
Absolutely. It's a profound shift, moving well beyond just design or just back-end assembly, towards being a comprehensive manufacturing powerhouse, covering the whole spectrum.
And driven by, well, a mix of things.
A powerful mix, yeah. These big international collaborations, strong government backing and incentives, and crucially, the expertise brought by service providers like Orbit and Skyline who help connect all the dots.
It sounds like India isn't just aiming to participate in the future of high tech anymore.
No, it seems like they're actively positioning themselves to be a leader, certainly in the semiconductor space, building the capacity, fostering the partnerships.
A really compelling picture. So for you listening, think about this. As India carves out a bigger slice of the global semiconductor pie, what does a more geographically diverse supply chain really mean?
Yeah, what are the ripple effects?
What opportunities, maybe what challenges could this create across different industries? Consumer tech, AI, automotive, and how might India's rise here reshape the broader technological landscape over the next, say, 10 years? Definitely something to keep watching.